What's going on, Colts Nation? I appreciate you joining me for another video today. I want to look at the Colts depth chart, right? The draft has happened. There's been undrafted free agents. At this point, we've talked about different free agents that we should pick up at different positions as I was looking through the depth chart. So I figure, hey, with where we're at in the offseason, the mini camps have started and the offseason program has gotten underway for some people. And so, with that being the case, I figured, hey, let's look at where we are. Let's look at where we are offensively and on the defense, see who we have and what this roster could look like. Okay, so starting at quarterback, obviously, Anthony Richardson, Joe Flacco, Sam Ellinger. Those are the three quarterbacks that we thought we were going to come into the year with. Now, we've talked about the undrafted free agents, and we're going to talk more about undrafted free agents. Just haven't gotten to that point yet, but we also have Keaton Slovis and Jason Bean as undrafted free agents. We'll see who ends up getting that third quarterback spot. The first two, got to assume, are going to be locked down, right? Flacco and Richardson are pretty much guaranteed to make the team, right? I would assume. So then you're looking at one of these guys being the number three, could very easily be Sam Ellinger because he's been here. He knows what's going on. And the continuity is obviously a big deal with this staff. So we'll see what happens there. Again, likely going to be Sam that sticks around. But we'll also see what happens there. But then you look at running back, and shout out to our lads. They're the only ones that have, or the only ones that I've seen, at least at this point, that have the undrafted free agents included in the depth chart. So good job by these guys. They have Taylor, Jonathan Taylor, Evan Hull, Tyler Goodson, Trey Sermon, and Xavier Scott. So the Colts have options at running backs. We just talked about how the Colts, could end up signing somebody else like a Dalvin Cook or Kareem Hunt or Jerick McKinnon and bringing one of those guys in to be the number two behind Jonathan Taylor. And that would create even more competition. That would create even more influx in the roster. Right, one of these guys that you like would end up having to sit on the practice squad, and somebody else can pluck them away from the practice squad. So, it'll be interesting to see if the Colts decide to do that. Evan Hull hopefully is able to step up. We expected big things from last year, and then he got hurt. So, hopefully, he's able to stay healthy, and if he's able to stay on the field, hopefully he's a big deal behind Jonathan Taylor. Hopefully he's able to come in and do what we expect him to do, right? Be an explosive piece off that second team. And then, of course, having Trey Sermon, who we just re-signed this year, and Tyler Goodson, who we saw in some action. Like, for all intents and purposes, the Colts probably feel really good about their running back room going into the season. So a lot of names there. We'll see if they can step up. That's the big thing with 2024 is we have a lot of names. We just got to get a lot of these young guys to step up. Need them to stay healthy, stay on the field. We need them to step up, right? Who's going to step up and be this next generation of core guys with Anthony Richardson growing into the next generation? That's what 2024, we're going to see a big piece of that. Good draft last year, at least we think so. They just got to stay healthy. A lot of the guys from last year's draft were hurt all year or most of the year. And then this year, again, need the guys to stay healthy. Got to see who's going to start showing up and showing out for these last couple draft picks. But when you look at it, we all thought the Colts could go tight end with Brock Bowers there in the first round. We end up not getting a tight end at all in the draft. We have Jelani Woods, Kylan Granson, Mo Alley-Cox, Drew Ogletree, Will Mallory, Eric Tomlinson, and Jordan Murray. And also Trent Penix, who's an undrafted free agent. We talked about him a little bit. So the Colts loaded at tight end right now. You would expect that the group that we had last year is probably the group that we're going to have this year. We just need our key guys to stay healthy. And really, we're talking about Jelani Woods. We need Jelani Woods. We want Jelani Woods to stay healthy so that we can see what he can be now that he's had a couple years to develop and a couple years, in this system. This will be his second year in this system. Didn't get to play it all last year, but got to sit back and watch other people do it and sit back and learn about it. Coming into this year, can Jelani Woods stay on the field? That'll be huge for the offense if Jelani Woods is able to stay on the field. Okay, but then you look at the offensive line, is the same offensive line that we had last year, right? With Smith, Fries, Kelly, Nelson, and Raymond. But then at backups, you have Blake Freeland, who started a lot of games last year. Wesley French, Josh Sills is still sticking around. But then the draft picks from this year at Matt Gonçalves, and Tanner Bortolini. And then even behind that, some of the depth, some names that we know, we're looking at Jake Witt, Danny Pinter, and Arlington Hambright. Now, beyond that, does it really matter? I don't know. Jack Anderson's still here. Practice squad guy Dalton Tucker, undrafted free agent. We'll see what happens there. But we've talked a lot about the offensive linemen already, and our five guys are set for this year. Probably Braden Smith at some point could end up getting traded with some of the flexibility and positions that some of these guys have, specifically the rookies for this year. Then who knows? At some point, Braden Smith might not be on the roster, but I do think our five from last year are going to be the five that start in week one this year. And then we'll see what happens beyond that. Okay. But then at receiver, Colts looking at Michael Pittman Jr., A.D. Mitchell, who obviously just got drafted this year, Josh Downs, who was drafted last year and had a very good rookie season. Ashton Doolin's coming back from injury. Alec Pierce is on the roster. Anthony Gould, who the more I look into him, the more I like the pick, not just as a returner. He's mostly going to be a returner, but as a receiver, looking at the different things that he can do, we're definitely going to talk about Anthony Gould. I actually think we're going to be talking about Anthony Gould tomorrow, so make sure you're subscribed with notifications on so you get notified when that video comes out as well. But Anthony Gould being named one of the sleeper picks or the sleeper pick of the draft for the Colts. Okay, but then you go beyond that, you still have DJ Montgomery and Juwann Winfree here. A lot of guys from last season that were on the practice squad still sticking around. Xavier White, undrafted free agent. So we'll see who sticks around, but it looks like we might have our guys, and we have 6 receivers that we're probably going to be dressing every single week. I would assume that's how this is going to work. A lot of competition at receiver, but also now you have depth. Getting A.D. Mitchell and Anthony Gould. Now, A.D. Mitchell probably, in my opinion, could be a week one starter. Anthony Gould could be the returner in week one, right? And be a wide receiver depth piece, but he's going to play on special teams. We'll see what happens with Alec Pierce and what role he decides to play. Maybe he just goes into it week to week as a depth piece. I don't know what he could do as special teams. Maybe they'll have him playing a little bit of special teams. Ashton Doolin, we know, can play wide receiver, but is also one of the best special teams players in the league. So I think the 6 receivers for the Colts are set at that, right? 4 guys, Michael Pittman Jr., Josh Downs, Alec Pierce, Ashton Doolin, and then the 2 rookies, I believe, are going to be the other 2, and we're just going to take 6 in every single week. At least if I was the coaches, that's what I would do. I think that would be a potent 6 receivers, have a little bit of depth there going into every single game. So I like that from that standpoint. Then you go looking at the defense and looking at the defensive line, where all of a sudden the Colts have a lot of depth, getting Latu, this got a great pick for the Colts. Like, the more I think about this, the more I look at this, like the more I really enjoy the pick. Somebody that we've talked about and compared, and a lot of people are comparing to a TJ Watt. And I think he has that kind of potential. Now, is he going to be getting, 18 and a half sacks in his rookie year? That might be a little lofty, but this is a guy that, like other people with 17 game seasons, yeah, I think Latu could be a guy that gets to double digit sacks. And it'll be interesting to see where he decides to play, on this depth chart. He's at the left defensive end. But we'll see what the Colts decide to do. They obviously have the 4 from last year, right? Kwity Paye, DeForest Buckner, Grover Stewart, Samson Ebukam. Those were the 4 starters from last year. You look beyond that, Dio Dangbo is also on the team. Titus Leo, who they got last year, he's coming back, going to be able to be in the lineup this year. Tyquan Lewis is back again this year. So from just the defensive end spots, like, there are a lot of guys that they could rotate in. That's really the only thing that's going to hold back Latu's numbers, in my opinion, if he's not in every down bat or in every down defensive end for them in his rookie season. And they want to rotate a bunch of these guys in, right? Picking up the 5th-year option for Kwity Paye, they obviously want him to be on the field in some capacity, right? $13 million for next year. He's going to be on the field in some capacity. So we'll see what they decide to do here. But Latu coming in, I think, makes the Colts very dynamic in the front. You also have Raekwon Davis as a signing coming from the Dolphins, one of the only non-Colts free agent signings, and Raekwon Davis, another monster, 6'7", whatever, coming in and being able to be that third interior defensive lineman. And I think that gives a lot of value to what we're looking at with this Colts front. I think we're really good. I think we're really deep. And hopefully, a lot of these guys and all these guys are able to stay healthy. Of course, you want all these guys to be able to stay healthy. It'll be interesting to see. I thought Dio was going to be a guy that had a breakout year this year, and it'll be interesting to see if the Colts, does Dio and Latu, are those the guys that end up being the edge rushers that take us into the future? Can we make that work? How does that look? We'll see what happens there. Those are future thoughts. But for right now, we are very deep on the defensive line. Then you look at linebackers, obviously EJ Speed, Zaire Franklin, Segan Alubi, Grant Stewart are on the team still, obviously. Ronnie Harrison, the former safety, who's now playing linebacker, came in, played well after Darius Leonard or Shaq Leonard was traded last year. Came in, played well in that role, have forced some turnovers at different times. And then Jalen Carlisle is another guy that I really like. Looking into him, we're actually going to be talking about him tomorrow as well. Anthony Gould and Jalen Carlisle going to do both those videos on the same day. So again, subscribe, have notifications turned on so you get notified, so we can learn more about these rookies together. But Carlisle, I think, has a bright future transitioning as a linebacker, another safety turned linebacker. I think that could be really good for us in the future, and I really like that draft pick, getting him in the 5th round. Okay, but then as you go through, still have Liam Anderson here, still have Cameron McGrone here. A couple guys on defensive line that we didn't mention still being here. Obviously, Taven Bryan's still here. Tommy Ade's still here. Isaiah Land, and then obviously Jonah Lulu, who we drafted, and Isaiah Coe, who's an undrafted free agent. So continuing to look on here and getting through this at cornerback, the Colts have Juju Brents, Dallas Flowers, Kenny Moore, Jalen Jones, obviously. And those are the guys that, carried us through last season in different, obviously Dallas Flowers hurt for a lot of it, or hurt for pretty much the entire year. Juju Brents hurt for a lot of the season. So it was Kenny Moore and Jalen Jones. Those are the guys we're really looking at. Daryl Baker Jr. has now slid down the depth chart, and he's down the depth chart. He played a lot last year, but obviously just wasn't good enough. We need for Juju Brents, Dallas Flowers to be able to stay healthy. We need these guys to stay healthy. Now, Micah Abraham was a 6th round pick for the Colts, cornerback from Marshall. I think he's a really intriguing pick, gets his hands on the ball a lot between pass breakups and interceptions. So like him a lot. We're going to be talking about him soon too. Again, going through all the different draft picks and undrafted free agents. We just haven't gotten to him, but a very intriguing pick for the Colts right there. Jalen Simpson, another intriguing pick for the Colts, has some dual ability in the secondary, being able to do multiple different things in the secondary. And then continuing in the secondary, you have Julian Blackmon, Nick Cross at the safeties, at least for the moment. At least for the moment. Maybe we end up getting Quandre Diggs or somebody like that. But for right now, Julian Blackmon, Nick Cross at safeties, Daniel Scott, they expect a lot from somebody they drafted last year. They got hurt in training camp. I believe the last day of training camp, he got hurt and ended up missing the entire season. Rodney Thomas, obviously, still on the team. He has a lot of playing experience. Trevor Denbo, special teams guy. Michael Tootsie's back there. Marcel Dabo, who's an international player program guy, doesn't take a roster spot. He's still sticking around. So really liking the way the roster is. There's a lot of depth here. There's going to be a lot of competition. It'll be interesting to see what happens for the Colts as we continue to go forward. Who's going to make the team, who's not. So many new rookies and undrafted free agents. So a lot of potential here. We're going to continue talking about all the guys that the Colts just got, right? Again, through the draft, we have a couple videos tomorrow. We're going to start doing these in bunches. So again, make sure you subscribe with notifications on so you get notified when those videos come out, and any other videos we happen to come out with, I want your opinion on. I got another conversation in a couple of days that I want your guys' opinion on. So again, make sure you subscribe, have those notifications turned on. Of course, I appreciate you joining me for another video. As always, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and go Colts.